But now we have news for you. Here's Jeffrey Bodeau, who's joining us for a few minutes from William Ravis. Good morning. How are you?
I'm doing well, Ray. How are you?
Well, we missed you for 2 weeks, but it's good to have you back. So,
well, look, hopefully I'm not the one who brought all these storms. My welcoming back to radio.
No, it wasn't you. You know, I wasn't here in the 70s or the 80s, the late 80s, when everything was booming here and then suddenly stopped. But, I kept hearing stories about people, and even to a degree at this point, there are people who are bidding on a house, and by the time they get to the realtors to sign the paper, somebody else has bid, and even more. Is that going on now?
That is going on now. Maybe not to the extent of what it was in like 2006, 5, 6, 7. There was pretty much, you put a sign out front, it was already sold. It was a bidding war. But things are definitely busy right now. One of the things that I wanted to touch base on was we talked about on the sell side, but on the buy side, there's certain things that a buyer really should be doing to prepare themselves to hopefully win that house or win the bid. It pretty much is what it's becoming.
Yeah. It's kind of a wonderful world in a sense, but, if you're buying, maybe there are little things you can do to make sure you're going to get the deal done.
That's absolutely right. And one of the main things, the first things, Ray, is you want to be pre-approved. So make sure you talk to your lender, make sure you get pre-approved, not pre-qualified. There is absolutely a difference. And when you're on the phone with your lender, find out how quick they can really do a loan. Some banks are doing mortgage commitment in 2, sometimes 3 weeks, and closing in 3 weeks, sometimes 4.
Wow.
And that's critical because lots of times it's a 45 to 60-day period.
Oof.
So if you're a seller and you have somebody who can close in 30 days, that's pretty optimum.
Now, okay, like for example, we sign a contract of sale, a bill of sale. Can I put a limitation on how long you have to get everything in place?
Yes, you can do that. I find that sometimes those work, sometimes that those don't work. But certainly you don't want your offer to sit out there and lapse in time and only for the agent, the other seller to come back and say, well, there's more offers now. So you can put a deadline on your offer. You certainly can do that. Some of the other things you can do is when you're making your deposits, sometimes you'll do a first and a second deposit after your inspections are done.
Right.
Put a large first deposit up right away. Don't even bother with a second, but put up a large first deposit the first time around. It shows your intent. It shows you're serious. It shows this is the house you want.
Okay, and just some other things that go through, and I, having done this myself, and Jeff, I think you've probably done it because this is kind of what you do for a living. What about the inspection? You were talking just a moment ago about the inspection and putting down a big deposit and say, I'm darn serious about this house, so let's just get this thing rolling. What can happen with inspections? Because I know sometimes they'll find things, the inspector will find things, depending on who you have, that could be a problem.
Yes, that's true. So what's happening is you want to get your inspections done. Typical time is 10 to 14 days. Get your inspections done within 7 days. So what I like to do and instruct my clients to do, suggest that they do, is when you're making an offer, call an inspector and see if you can get them tentatively lined up. So when you're making your offer, you could say, we already have an inspection lined up for next Monday.
Wow.
So that shows the seller that you're serious and that you're really moving forward.
How many, Jeff, I just wanted to ask you, in your experience, and since you do seem to have multiple clients bidding on one house, what, is this, once again, to back up, this is getting more and more common, is it not?
It is getting more common. I have seen, and I think talking to my colleagues too, over the past 2 weeks or so, we've sort of seen it slow a bit. Mm-hmm. It's still extremely busy, but things have slowed a little bit. I think the frenzy, quote unquote, it's still there, but it's dissipated slightly. So, which is better for a buyer right now.
Jeff, what is the best time to sell a house?
There isn't a best time in my opinion.
Right now, right? Yeah, that's you.
Well, I always say to a client, the best time to sell and the best time to buy is when it's right for you. You can't time what's right in somebody's life. It could be children, college. It could be anything like that. So that's what I always tell people. There really is no best time. But in regards to the market is usually strong from about February till June, sometimes rolling into July, and then September, October, November.
Okay. Well,
but now it's
almost all year.
Opposite. Now it's busy straight through.
Well, that's a good thing for you and a good thing for the sellers and the buyers, for that matter. Let's not get. Hey, what's the difference? You mentioned earlier pre-qualified and pre-approved. What's the difference?
Approved. So pre-qualify is basically the lender is taking some information from you, your credit score, we're running that, and basically verifying whatever you tell them that you make for income, whatever your income and expenses are, they're basing a pre-qualification letter off of that. A pre-approval letter is when you've gone through everything to the extent of they checked your W-2s, they've looked at your tax returns, they've gone through all of those bases and ensured that you're pre-approved. Now you're ready to go and buy.
Okay, so you've now qualified to be to buy this or to borrow this amount of money to buy this house, or not this house in particular, but a house, correct?
That is correct. It could be any house up to a certain point. Now, obviously, it's the price, and the lender is also going to check into the taxes, because the taxes could make a difference from one city to another, and that could put you out of that price point.
Oh, hey, well, go ahead, Jeff. You're the pro.
So that's very interesting that you needed to be careful of when speaking with your lender.
Oh, yeah. And okay, let's say in your, there used to be a rule of thumb, you would qualify with this amount of income, you'd qualify for this amount of house or this size of a loan. Is that still in place?
Yeah, they will look at your DTI, which is, your debt to income ratio. And that's what decides as to what you're qualified for. And a lender will go through all that with you. Okay. But from a multiple offer standpoint, there are a lot of things, as we talked about, that a buyer can do to position themselves better in the marketplace. And one of those is the inspections. The other is mortgage commitment. You need to be cautious with this, but I've seen people that have actually foregone the mortgage commitment and an appraisal. They want the house bad enough, they're going to say, whatever the mortgage appraisal comes out at, I'm still moving forward. You need to be cautious with that.
Yeah, you do. Hey, Jeff, it's going to be 2 weeks, but we missed you. Good to have you here, and we'll talk again in 2 weeks.
All right, Ray. Stay safe over the next weekend. Hopefully get some power back.
Oh, God. Thank you, brother. All right. Jeffrey Bodeau.